Are you still tossing out your sourdough discard? If so, you are definitely missing out. These amazing recipes are going to turn that waste into the best thing that you bake all week, and I bet some of these you have never even seen before. Hey friends, welcome back to Six Hearts on Six Acres. My name's Bree. If you are new here, I'm so glad to have you. Today we are going to be in the kitchen and I'm going to be sharing with you 10 incredibly delicious and kind of unexpected ways to use your sourdough discard. We don't throw this stuff away around here. It is like gold, and I'm going to show you how to put it to good use. So grab your jar of discard and let's go. The first recipe that we're going to make today is a sourdough discard blueberry lemon bread, and this recipe tastes exactly like spring. It's so delicious and just lightly sweet, makes the perfect breakfast. This recipe is also really easy because it just all goes into one bowl, super quick to clean up and easy to make. You're going to go in with 2 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, a half a teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of lemon rind, 1 cup of starter, 3/4 cup of brown sugar, a half a cup of your choice of melted oil. I used butter, 2 large eggs, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, and then 1 cup of blueberries. You just mix all of this together and then put it into a greased loaf pan and throw it into the oven at 350 degrees for 55 to 65 minutes. Once this bread has cooled for at least 10 minutes, if you want, you can turn it out of your baking dish and add a nice lemon glaze with just some powdered sugar, lemon juice, vanilla, and a little bit of heavy cream. But I did not do that. I left it in my baking dish and we ate it without the glaze, and it was still absolutely perfect. Our second recipe is just as easy. It's another just a 1 bowl recipe. You don't have to do lots of dishes, and it makes the perfect breakfast, especially if you're in a hurry and on the go. These are discard sausage balls. All you need is 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of sourdough starter, 2 tablespoons of baking powder, 4 cups of shredded cheese. It's always better, of course, if you shred your own. Today I did not, though. I was cheating. 1 pound of your favorite ground breakfast sausage, and half a teaspoon of pepper. Use your hand to just combine all of this really well. It does not work very well with a spoon. You really have to get your hands in there and get them messy. And then just roll these into about inch balls and put them on your baking sheet. They don't rise, so they don't need a lot of room. And then you're going to bake these at 375 degrees for 20 to 23 minutes. These are really delicious, quick and easy, and a really great way to add some protein into your breakfast for the day. For this third recipe, we are going to go ahead and pull out the KitchenAid stand mixer. If you don't own one of these, you could definitely still do this recipe by hand or even with a hand mixer, but the stand mixer just really makes it pretty quick and easy, and I used it a few times today, so I didn't mind getting it out. We are going to make some homemade sourdough discard graham crackers, and I will just give you a little bit of a forewarning. I took these to Easter with some like cream cheese chocolate chip dip, and they were a huge hit. They were delicious. I cannot wait to make these this summer with some s'mores and homemade marshmallows. They're going to be so good. But in this mixer, all you do is add 8 tablespoons of butter and 3/4 cup of brown sugar, and you cream that together really well. And then you're going to go in with 1/3 cup of honey, 1 cup of discard, and a teaspoon of vanilla. In a separate bowl, you're going to mix together 3 cups of flour, half a teaspoon of baking soda, 3/4 a teaspoon of salt. Unless you're like me and use salted butter, I went in with like a little over 1/4 teaspoon. And then 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon. You're slowly going to incorporate this dry ingredient mixture into the wet ingredient mixture until you have a nice dough. And then you'll turn it out onto a floured surface and knead it until the dough completely comes together. And then you're going to chill this in the fridge, wrapped up, of course, for at least 1 hour. After your dough has chilled, you can turn this out onto some parchment paper, and you're going to roll it really thin, about 1/8 of an inch thickness, and then you're going to cut it into about 3 by 3 inch squares, poke some holes, and then if you want to do a little bit of a variation on this, you can also sprinkle it with some cinnamon and sugar to make cinnamon and sugar graham crackers. I did not do this, but I may try it next time because I think it would be really yummy. You're going to put these graham crackers on a parchment paper lined baking sheet and bake for 12 to 15 minutes and let them cool completely on your baking sheet. If you want really crispy graham crackers, definitely go the full 15 minutes and also roll them quite a bit thinner than you think you would want. The thickness that I have turned them into more of a softer cookie kind of texture instead of a crispy graham cracker. So the second batch I did, I baked them longer and rolled them thinner, and they were perfect, just like a crunchy graham cracker. But they were definitely delicious both ways. If you are still watching at this point and you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. I share tons of cooking from scratch, sourdough, gardening, preserving, all of the homestead style things, and I would love to have you along on this journey with me. We have a great community here. We are just getting started, and I would love to have you be a part of it. We next are going to move right along to some sourdough discard pasta. This recipe I did use a food scale for. It called for 100 grams of starter, 2 large eggs, and 250 grams of flour. That's it. Super simple. You can do this on the counter or in a bowl. In a bowl is definitely less messy. But either way, you just want to put your flour in and then create a well for your liquid ingredients, the eggs and the sourdough starter. And then you're going to just slowly incorporate that flour into those wet ingredients until you have a nice dough. This does take quite a bit of kneading. It took me about 10 minutes to get it to this really nice, smooth, elastic stage, and that is what you want. When your dough has come together really well and is super soft and elastic, you're going to want to let it rest for about 30 minutes. My favorite way to do this is just to throw it into a twist tie bag and let it set on the counter. Once your dough has rested and your gluten has fully relaxed, you can go ahead and roll out this dough and cut it into your pasta noodles. My husband got me this pasta roller and cutter for Christmas, and I love it. It makes the job so much easier, but it's definitely not necessary. This next recipe is going to be kind of a fast food dupe. We love to go get those gyros from Arby's, and I decided I wanted to try and make them at home. And so these are a sourdough discard naan bread. Again, this was super easy to make. You just mix everything together in your big bowl. We went with 1.5 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 cup of discard, 1/4 cup of a plain whole milk Greek yogurt, 3 tablespoons of water, and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. You're going to need this until you have a dough formed. And then as equally as possible, divide it into 8 pieces. You're just going to cover these up with a towel and let it rest for 10 minutes. Once rested, you can go ahead and roll out your naan bread dough into 1/4 inch thick rounds. Make sure and keep the ones that you aren't rolling out covered so that they don't dry out. I cook these in a medium-high cast iron skillet for about 1 to 2 minutes on each side. The recipe said to brush them with butter when I was finished. I did not do that step just because I wasn't using them that night. I will do this when I reheat them for the night that I am using them for dinner, which actually it's going to be tomorrow night. And I will make sure and share that recipe with you because it sounds so good. And if I can save money and not put the garbage of fast food ingredients into our bodies, I definitely want to do that, and I want you to be able to do that too. If you have been watching for a while, you know that I have to pack my kids' lunches every day, and granola bars are something that I love to have on hand. They're so easy to make. I know there's a million varieties in the store and they're easy to grab, but honestly, they are so easy to make as well, and you know what ingredients are in them. You can control how much sugar there's going to be, and so definitely homemaking them is the way to go. These granola bars were a sourdough discard chocolate chip granola bar. They had 2 cups of quick oats, half a cup of discard, half a cup of mini chocolate chips, 6 tablespoons of honey, 6 tablespoons of peanut butter, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and half a teaspoon of salt. You could also add just whatever fill-ins that you like in your granola bars. Any types of nuts, chia seeds, flaxseed, that type of thing would be really good in this granola bar as well. I just shared a little hack with you of how I get parchment paper into a dish like this. If you crumble it up first, it forms in there really well. And then you're just going to add in your granola bar filling. Push it down so that you have a really nice solid granola bar. And this is going to go into a 350 degree oven for 12 to 15 minutes. This made 12 granola bars for us. Of course, you can kind of make more or less depending on how big you would like them to be, but they were really delicious. I do find that this discard recipe, the granola bars from it, do better in the fridge just because they hold together well and the chocolate chips don't get soft and melty, especially if you're making these once it is warm outside. This next recipe is a little bit more advanced than the others, but it makes a full meal and it also freezes really well. So it's great to just have them made ahead and pull out on a busy night. I personally love to stock my freezer with frozen ready-to-eat meals, especially this time of the year when I'm spending so much time in the garden and I don't want dinner to be a hassle. I love being able to just go in there and pull out something for dinner and just have to heat it up. So this recipe is going to be sourdough discard beef empanadas. These were delicious. These are another thing that I actually took to Easter. We do like more of an appetizer style Easter. And they flew off the tray. They were all eaten and they were so good. The crust was flaky and delicious. This is 113 grams of sourdough discard, 28 grams of ice water, 1 large egg, 300 grams of flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of baking powder, and then you're going to cut into that mixture 226 grams of cold butter. Obviously, a kitchen scale is necessary in this recipe. You're going to need this until you have a really nice dough. Wrap it in plastic and throw it in your refrigerator to chill for at least 30 minutes. While that's chilling, you can go ahead and get started on the mixture. This recipe called for 226 grams of ground beef. I just went in with about a pound. My ground beef comes in 2-pound packages, and so I tried to half it pretty evenly. And then I went in with just a couple small, very finely chopped Yukon Gold potatoes, 1 finely chopped carrot, and then I cooked that until the veggies were soft. Once it was soft, I seasoned it with paprika and a little bit of taco seasoning, And then I added in probably about half a cup of frozen peas. You can then salt and pepper that to your taste, and it smells phenomenal. Go ahead and set that aside and let it cool completely. And while you do that, you can start getting your dough into 12 individual balls, and then you're going to go ahead and chill these a second time. The reason for keeping these chilled is so those big chunks of butter you see in there stay nice and cold. That way when they cook, your dough is super crispy and super flaky all at the same time. Once those dough balls have chilled for at least 30 minutes and your filling is completely cool, you can go ahead and roll your dough into rounds and then fill. You do want to make sure that you put not a ton of filling. I think I didn't measure it, I just did a big scoop, but it was about 3 tablespoons. That way that these don't bust open while you're baking them and you have enough room to crimp the edges with a fork. Once all of your empanadas are made, you can throw these on a parchment-lined baking sheet, brush them with an egg wash, and then bake them at 350 degrees for 20 minutes until they are nice and golden brown. All right, guys, I know I said I was bringing you 10 discard recipes. You're gonna have to forgive me because I am almost out of discard. I don't have enough to do anymore. So those next 3 recipes are gonna have to come at a later date. I gave you 7 amazing recipes today though, and I know that if you try some of them, you are never gonna be throwing your discard away again. If you plan to make any of these recipes, I would love to hear about it below. Or if you have any discard recipes that you really love that you think I should try, put those down in the comments below for me as well. I love trying out new recipes, and I would love to hear what you guys make. I would also super appreciate it if you would send this video to a friend, somebody that loves sourdough as much as you do. Give them the love of having these incredible recipes, and then make sure to join me back here next time for the next video. Until I see you then, may God bless.